and take a look around.
I can't wait to explore.
I have to say, you're a real lifesaver. Well then, see you next time.
It's always a pleasure. Ah, come again. Well, what do you know? Sierra! What? It's Lyria! And the captain of the boat! You made it all the way to this skydom, too? Boy, you really do get around. You might just say I'm everywhere. Everywhere the cash flows. Visit the Knick-Knack Shack for all your travel tap. By the way, the blacksmith right there makes some fighting mine weaponry if you need some new gear.
Ah, you must be the ones Shiro mentioned. Let me take a peek at your gear.
I'm glad we know where to look if we need to sharpen our weapons.
You can say that again. Now, back to goofing off.
Eugen's already, making connections with the locals. Methods aside, he did know all the talk in Auguste. Mercenaries sure are resourceful.
Huh? Well, now.
Ahoy, Captain. Enjoying yourself?
Oh, brother. At least one of us is, that's for sure.
Come here. Let you in on a tip I heard. Word is there's a village that runs a mining operation on a nearby island. It's got an altar dedicated to, get this, a primeval god. And when this god stirs up a wind, loads of ore gets exposed, ripe for the plucking. Then, this town takes those mined ores to make the finest jewelry. We'd be rich if we got in on the action somehow. You catching my drift? Anyway, gonna stay put and sniff around for more info. I'll let you know what I hear. See you later, Captain. One more for the road.
We've already seen a lot of action today, so let's take...
Rackham headed straight for the docks, huh? He takes such good care of the Grand Cipher. I guess after everything we've put her through, she deserves the TLC.
Yeah, but... Airship of that size is a first for me, but I reckon I can handle her.
Sorry for pushing you guys.
Shucks, it ain't nothing. I'll leave this spot empty, so go ahead and fly her in.
Thanks a million. I'll get right on it.
Rackham, hi!
Well, look who it is. I managed to find a place that can patch up the Grand Cipher. Just got done haggling with him.
I'm sorry the ship got hurt. That was my fault.
Whoa, whoa, what are you talking about? You had nothing to do with it.
But I...
Look, it was a random accident. No one could have known our dragon friend would go all crazy.
It's not your fault, Lyria.
Yep, no one's blaming you.
Captain knows best. So quit feeling guilty about it, okay?
Okay. Thanks for cheering me up.
There's that smile. Besides, we're in a new skydom. Let's see some more enthusiasm, huh? Anyway, I'd better go move the Grand Cipher before anything happens to her. Go have fun. I got the ship covered.
This town seems pretty chill, huh?
Excuse me.
Work hard, play hard.
That's it. And also.
Let's kick some tail!
What's Rosetta doing? Probably better not to ask. Every rose has its thorns, and every primal beast has her secrets.
Hi, Rosetta.
Nice of you to drop by, Lyria. Come to see my part of town?
Actually, I wanted to ask you how I could help the crew.
Is that so? Well, I'd say there's no need to stress out about it.
But I want to be useful and do my share.
Oh dear. I think you might be overthinking this.
Still, isn't there something I can do?
Let's see. Guidebooks are pretty useful. Ever thought about writing one?
Write my own guidebook?
Just jot down the fun things you've seen and done. Whatever you want to share with us.
Better than complaining all the time. That's like the opposite of being helpful.
You're right. Okay, I'll write the best guidebook ever.
I can't wait to read it. Such a refreshing breeze.
Let's come back once we find a key.
I can't wait to see more of the town.
Let's kick some tail!
The thing is...
Now here's an offer you can't refuse. Never hurts to have some backup, right? See you next time!
Work hard, play hard.
Io. We've come a long way since we met on Framel. With how much she knows about magic, I still can't believe she's younger than me.
Hey, what you looking at?
You dumb lizard! Don't sneak up on me like that!
Ugh, for the millionth time, I ain't no lizard!
So, what you doing, Io? Checking out the makeup selection. Ooh, that's so grown up. An elegant lady knows the importance of looking her best. I see. I still don't know anything about makeup. You're naturally pretty, but a dab here or there could bring out a whole new you. Really? I don't know if that's me at all. How about this? Next time we'll do our faces together. With Rosetta's tutoring, of course. Aren't you curious how Lyria will look, Captain?
Can't wait to see the new Lyria.
Gosh, I'll try not to disappoint anyone. Gee, what a selection. I don't know what most of this stuff is for.
Step right up, folks. Feast your eyes on my incredible merchandise.
Huh?
Window shoppers welcome. You'll love what you see. Thank you. Window shoppers welcome. You'll love what you see.
Catalina, training again. Guess old military habits die hard, huh? If she hadn't betrayed the Erste Empire to save Lyria, who knows where we'd be now?
Hi, Catalina!
What you doing?
Thought I might get in some training. I once spent hours practicing my strikes.
Oh, no wonder you're a master swordswoman.
Not yet, I'm afraid. Maybe I'm halfway there at best.
You're no slouch either, buddy. But I wonder who's better, you or Catalina?
Probably Catalina.
It's hard to say at a glance, though it might be fun to cross swords sometime.
You mean like a sparring match? I wouldn't know who to root for.
Then why not both?
Oh, you're right! There's no rule that says I can only...
Captain, before we proceed any further, I have just one thing. Make sure to check our mastery points from time to time. Battles may begin to feel tense if we don't sharpen our skills.
Can't wait to try this out! Ready for action! Nifty! Great! Ready for action! I love learning new stuff! Nifty!
I'll practice day and night. I mustn't fall behind our captain after all.
If you're done looking around, we can start heading to the meetup spot a little early.
Step right up, folks. Feast your eyes on my incredible merchandise.
The meetup spot was somewhere around here, right? Are you done looking around?
Yeah, I think I've seen everything.
Same. Let's take a quick break while we wait for the others.
Look, it's the Grand Cipher!
Oh yeah! Rackham did say he'd bring her in for repairs.
Can I tell you something? I heard what you did when I was falling off the ship. I felt so happy knowing you sprang to my rescue. We've been through a lot together. Visited new islands, met new people. It hasn't always been the safest trip, but you've always been there to protect me. I just wanted to say thank you. And since our lives are intertwined, let's make the most of our journey together.
Yeah.
Now my face feels a little hot. That's so true. Doesn't it smell nice?
Sure does.
Sorry. Kept y'all waiting. Cypher's officially in the shop.
Nice work. Thanks, Rackham. So, we've got time to burn, it seems. Anyone want...
Almost forgot this.
You guys hear that?
All right, I'm off. Pardon my rudeness. I don't do well with lizards.
Hey! I ain't no lizard!
It can talk?
I do beg your pardon. We didn't mean to startle you. And we certainly don't intend on starting any trouble. Actually, we're a crew of humble skyfarers. This is Vern. I assure you he means no harm. If anything, he's quite the lovable dragon once you get to know him.
You've got it all wrong, Catalina. I'm a cool dragon.
Huh. Skyfarers, you say? Oh, allow me to introduce myself. My name is...
Roland, you've got to help us. A tornado suddenly hit our village out of nowhere.
A tornado? Could something have angered Tempeal's primal beast? Huh? Remain here in Folca. I'll handle the rest. My apologies. It seems I'm needed elsewhere, so I'm afraid this is farewell for now.
Hey, wait!
He sure ran off in a hurry.
And I heard him say primal beast. We should follow him.
It sounds like trouble's a brewing. We should go find that dude, even if he did call me a lizard.
There are still people stuck in Tempeal! Oh, what do we do? What do we do? So the altar suddenly lit up, you know? And the wind was like a whoosh! And that primeval god is not happy. Slow down, take a few deep breaths, and tell me exactly what happened. Okay, okay. I'm calm.
An altar, fierce winds, and what they call a primeval god. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it does.
Smells fishy. It's gotta be connected to Bahamut going ballistic on us.
glasses knows something we don't. Want to see if we can tag along?
He could lead us to a clue. What do you think, Captain?
Well, we can't ignore people in trouble.
Exactamundo.
Right then. I know what I have to do. Time to get moving.
Excuse me?
Ah, hello again. The situation is a bit out of hand, as you can see. If you need something from me, can it wait? I must leave town for a spell.
Then I'll cut to the chase. Allow us to join you.
Say that again?
It seems you're in a predicament. Depending on the situation, we could be of help.
I appreciate the offer, I really do, but
You mentioned a primal beast, right? If that's the problem, we want to lend a hand.
We hit our own snag as soon as we arrived in this skydom. Bet you a round of drinks whatever you're facing has to do with us, too.
Simply put, our goals are aligned. It takes two to tango, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. Though, more hands would certainly be welcome. Very well. I won't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yay!
Anything can happen out there. You should get organized before we head out.
All right. So who are we calling to the front line?
Lead the way.
You can depend on me.
I compliment any bouquet.
See that counter? That's where we can pick up new quests. Let's check back often, okay?
You set. That dude's gonna need serious help fixing the tornado problem.
Oh, are you a Skyfarer, perchance? If you're looking for coin, I can help you find jobs from all over the Skydom. So, would you be interested in taking a quest or two? Or, maybe more? What do you think? I can make the arrangements at once.
Our adventure began with a strange girl. I knew an unfair fight. Catalina and I fended them off well enough, but when their backs were in the corner, they were moments away from death. All I could think about was Dad. He'd been the one.
So,
Just as I began to sink into darkness, fortunately, it worked. Looking into her blue eyes, I knew 2 people, 1 life. Lyria had taken a huge risk to save me. Now, if one of us got hit the next moment, Lyria and I felt this reverberation of power. Darkness and flames swirled around us, coalescing into a massive dragon. Bahamut. Now that their trump card had been blasted into oblivion, sometimes I wonder, fate's a funny thing. Since meeting Lyria, we've seen our fair share of joy and happiness, but the Grand Cypher crew doesn't buckle under pressure. Now, where was I? The Empire was not. There was so much to think about, so much to decide. But all those plans could come, and, well, I had enough before I knew it, or I thought I was here now. From the moment Catalina sensed that, it's all thinking, what a sure new faces anyway discovered. But I hope you're ready, Zach.
You think you know the sky and wind, but then you come to a foreign land where unfamiliar songs on the air beckon you toward the unknown.
Catalina, where do you think this breeze is coming from?
The wind rustled Lyria's hair affectionately as she spoke. From somewhere far, far away. Much time has passed since Lyria and I escaped from the Erste Empire and met the captain in the woods of Zinkenstill. I found myself thankful that the sky has no limit, because no matter how many journeys I've made at her side, there will always be more to look forward to. Lyria and I first crossed paths when I was still a knight of Erste, and she a tool in the Empire's mad experiments on dark essence. So you're Lyria. I was appointed to stay by her side as both captor and guardian. She reminded me of a beautifully crafted puppet, never moving or speaking unless commanded. Her expression was fixed, and her eyes were bright, but cold, as if made of glass. Moved to pity, I wanted at the very least to light a smile on her face. But I may as well have been talking to a doll. I couldn't find the part of her that was alive. It wasn't until many days had escaped us that I realized Lyria was a real girl with a feeling soul. She simply didn't know how to act like one. So, I taught her to laugh when she felt joy and cry when she felt sadness. Through books and reverie, I taught her to long for the outside world, and when colors on a page were no longer enough, I took her hand and led her to the roof of the military base. The illustrations Lyria had seen were lovely, but the sky now stretching above her was boundless and so luminous that it drew forth tears. And finally, her blue eyes shone, as if they were two patches of sky lit by a sun from within her. That sun melted my heart. There, with the open air as our witness, I made her a promise. Someday, we'll sail this endless world together. I swear it. As the bond between us grew, so did the cruelty of the experiments they performed on Lyria. Lyria doesn't belong here. No living creature does. The shining empire I served now became to me a place clouded by doubt. Day after day, a battle raged within me, between the knight loyal to her flag and the guardian who wanted to set a sad girl free. Then, one day, a memory of Lyria's response on the roof broke through like a clear ray of light.
Really? You'll show me this endless world?
I had made a vow. There was no more question where my allegiance lay. I took her hand once again, this time not to simply gaze at the sky, but to leap into it. And I did it for myself as much as I did it for her.
Piloting an airship ain't easy work, but whether it's plotting a windward course or conducting some routine maintenance, you can always count on experience and intuition. Ha! Just a little further! Finally, the Grand Cipher broke through the nebulous shadows and turbulent winds of the Grim Basin, and to greet us on the other end was our reward, the brilliant clear blue. It was a panoramic azure, dappled by silver-white clouds and gleaming from the light of a new day. Always an exhilarating sight to behold. And judging by the cries of celebration starting to spread across the deck, I took it my crewmates would agree. Damn, who'd have ever thought a young dreamer from Port Breeze would make it all the way out to these skies? The Grand Cipher and I, we'd gone through thick and thin together. It's a long story, but it all started on that fateful day I met the captain. I haven't looked back since. Right then, landing maintenance. Fuel stores, full. Engine, all clear. We were ready to disembark into the unknown. What awaited us in the Zega Grande Skydom? As uneasy as I was, I couldn't help but feel a teensy bit giddy with excitement. Ah, the Grand Cipher. Ever since I found her abandoned behind a cliff, it was love at first sight. I was just a kid, but I had lofty dreams of repairing that ramshackle airship and taking her to the skies. Back then, I didn't know the difference between a porthole and port side, but I was determined. I dove into books bigger than my head, and I learned basic airship repair, helmsmanship, the whole kit and caboodle. After a ton of elbow grease, the day had come. The Grand Cipher was finally ready for a test flight. I still remember how my hands trembled as I grabbed the rudder. And wouldn't you know it, she actually lifted off the ground for me. Nothing quite like watching your first love take to the skies, is there? But before I could take it all in, my dreams came crashing down. I mean, literally. The Grand Cipher sunk like a damn meteor. 100 different things could have caused it, but that didn't matter. Years of work went kaput in the blink of an eye. Betrayed by the very skies I longed for, I was crushed. Looking back now, it sounds stupid, I know, but it really felt like I had nothing to live for. I put all my hopes into that hunk of scrap. Laugh if you want, but some pits are too deep to crawl out of, especially when you look up for freedom and all you see is the expansive crystal blue of your tormentor. Don't worry, my pity party wouldn't last for too much longer. You see, my dreams had crashed like a meteor.
But ironically enough, it was the meteoric rise of the Erste Empire that would bring the captain into my life. Salvation was on the horizon. Just as I'd given up on flying, the Erste Empire had arrived in Port Breeze, and they were hell-bent on exploiting our local protector, the primal beast of wind, Tiamat.
Their twisted machinations caused her to go on a rampage. Port Breeze was in peril. Fortunately, we had an ace up our sleeve, Lyria. Thing is, Lyria needed to get close to Tiamat, which meant we had to go up, and to go up, we needed to fly. I thought I'd already closed that chapter of my life when the skies betrayed me, but lives were on the line. Quick, get on the Grand Cipher! I don't know what got into me. She'd fell once before. Hell, I knew she might fall again. Nothing like a healthy fear of death to keep you grounded, eh? But the people of Port Breeze and my new crewmates had entrusted their fates to my piloting skills. My own fear was insignificant. All I needed to do was trust myself too. It's a damn shame it took me this long. But I'm back now, and ready to face the skies if you'll have me. As the Grand Cypher's engine purred to life, I knew I would no longer be encumbered by fear. I gripped the mast with pride as I set our course directly above, to the rampaging Tiamat. Lyria quelled the primal beast, and catastrophe had been averted. Not to mention, I could finally dream again. Ever since that day, I've been the helmsman for the Grand Cypher and its crew. And it's been one hell of a ride. I've since formed a pact with good old Tiamat and made amends with the shipwright Primal who built the Grand Cypher, Noah. So, Zeka Grande Skydom might be uncharted territory, but my role remains the same: to see our crew arrive safely, no matter the destination. And that includes Estalucia. Some folks might call reaching the end of the skies an impossible dream, but I ain't too worried. With the Grand Cypher as our wings, anything's possible.
If I hadn't met Master Zaka on that fateful day, if he hadn't saved me, there's no way I'd be where I am now. I'm from the Vaults Duchy, where the weather's sweltering all year long, thanks to a river of lava that flows through the island. My hometown might not have been the most scenic place, but as long as I had Master Zaka with me, I was happy. After traveling for so long, I can finally say that with pride. Before I left on my journey, I was completely clueless. When my master went missing, I just ran around like a chicken with its head cut off. I was looking for something, anything that would help me find him, and that's when I met the crew. The reason behind his disappearance turned out to be even worse than I could have imagined. The Earthstate Empire had driven him out of his mind. They had manipulated him into awakening the primal beast that had lain dormant beneath the ground, Colossus. Fortunately, I was able to break through to him, thwarting the Empire's attempt to exploit Colossus's powers for conquest. I learned that they were doing all sorts of horrible things, even to their own people, in order to achieve their goals. My master was a kind person who never hesitated to help those in need. I resented the Empire for making him suffer. And I couldn't just sit around when there was work to be done. That's why I decided to join the crew. To stick it to those Empire jerks and give their victims something to smile about. A few years before I met the crew, I lost my parents to an epidemic. I mourned their deaths for who knows how long. I could barely even bring myself to face reality each morning. With no living relatives in vaults, I was like a ship adrift at sea. I had nowhere to go and nowhere to belong. Until one day, my master reached out his hand to me. I was so depressed I just kept staring at the ground. But that gentle smile never left his face as he asked me, "Why do you look so sad?" There was something in his voice that made me look up. When I did, a beautiful bouquet of flowers appeared in his hands, seemingly out of thin air. I had no idea how he'd done it, but I knew it must have been some kind of parlor trick. But he insisted it was magic. What a goofball, right? Saying that when he can use real magic. But it was just the magic I needed at that moment. Beautiful and kind. He went on to show me all kinds of incredible spells, the likes of which I'd never seen before. Watching him made me smile at a time when I thought I'd forgotten how. My master would always say that magic exists to make people happy. Something about that spoke to me. It made me want to become a mage just like him. So I signed myself up as his disciple, begging him to teach me magic. I'll never forget how happy I was when he told me I had talent. After all, if he was right, that meant I had the potential to make people smile too. One day, shortly after I joined the crew, I suddenly lost the ability to use magic. No matter how many times I tried casting a spell, nothing happened. I had no clue what to do. The rest of the crew thought Master Zaka might have the answers I needed, so we set sail for Vaults. It'd been forever since I'd been back home. My master was thrilled to see how much I'd grown. I opened my mouth to ask him about my problem, but when I saw how happy he looked, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'd promised him that I'd come back as a great mage, but there I was, unable to cast even a single spell. The last thing I wanted was for him to be disappointed in me. Around that time, an epidemic returned to Vaults, the same disease that had claimed the lives of my parents. Wanting to keep it from spreading any further, my master headed to the clinic to speak with the people who'd been infected. But he ended up getting sick too. The source of the epidemic turned out to be an evil spirit that revealed itself to us right there in the clinic. I immediately confronted it. That rotten creature had already taken my parents from me. I wasn't gonna let it take anyone else. Determined to make it pay, I raised my staff, but nothing happened. I'll never forget how it felt to watch, helplessly, as my parents' killer got away. The crew gave chase, but I continued to stand where I was. Without my magic, I didn't see the point. I'd just end up getting in the way. All I could do was watch as my master suffered, withering away. Nothing had changed since the last time. But you know, it wasn't all bad. In search of a solution to my magic loss at the local library, I happened to come across a beautiful golden staff, one left to me by my mother. That's when Master Zaka revealed that my mother had been a mage too. On the verge of tears, I clenched my staff tightly in frustration. My beloved home and master were being threatened by a disease-spreading spirit, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Just as I began feeling completely hopeless, the staff began to glow. Somehow I could feel it encouraging me, empowering me. So what if I couldn't use magic? Surely there were other ways to help everyone. Unable to stand around doing nothing any longer, I ran off to find the crew. When I finally tracked them down, they'd already been rendered powerless by the disease. That left me as the only person who could fight. There wasn't a second to lose. It was that moment when I decided I was done running away. I'd promised myself a long time ago that I was going to use my magic to make people happy. Filled with newfound resolve, I heard a voice coming from the staff. Mom? Is that you? The voice told me to visualize the power flowing through me. As I did, I could feel magic welling up inside me, flooding out from deep within. With my mom's help, I was able to defeat the evil spirit. As soon as it was gone, light erupted from my staff. I turned to see the rest of the crew climbing to their feet, their symptoms gone. The power spread through the entire island of Vaults Duchy, eliminating the disease and bringing smiles back to the people. Things were a little touch and go there for a while, but in the end, everyone pulled through, and I've been able to use my magic without any issue ever since. I just know it's because my mom is watching over me through my staff. Thanks to her, I can keep traveling with the crew, using the staff she left me to bring out more smiles along the way.
I once gave up being a Skyfarer. Also, I could take up arms to protect my home island, Auguste. Man, she was special. You see, there aren't too many places in Fana Grande with oceans, much less ones as gorgeous and pristine as Auguste's. And I'd be damned if I stood by as the Erste Empire sullied its waters with the byproducts of their weapons research. It goes without saying that I enlisted. Good thing, too, because it was in the midst of the ensuing war that I met the Grand Cipher crew. They helped us, the local mercenaries, I mean, take a stand against those Imperial punks. It wasn't a picnic, but we weren't gonna go down without a fight. In the end, the war wasn't decided by either side, but by the patron deity of the land, Leviathan, who damn near drowned Auguste in a fit of rage. Anybody's troubles would have seemed small compared to a battle like that, huh? Well, not long after, as if irony was waiting to bite me on the ass, my estranged daughter showed up out of the blue. I know what you're thinking. What kind of parent wouldn't rejoice at seeing their child again? But it's complicated, and it's all my fault. Man, the way Apollonia looked at me, like a wolf staring down her bunny-eared breakfast. I couldn't face her. But this crew, there was something about their vitality, you know? Here were these young'uns standing against impossible odds and coming out stronger for it. Maybe if this old man took good notes, he could eventually have an honest conversation with his own baby girl. So, I asked to join the crew and took up a life of skyfaring once again. The next time my daughter and I met, I wouldn't let fear and regret keep me from moving forward. How'd me and my daughter end up estranged? Well, the first thing you need to know is that my wife was stricken by a terminal illness. I refused to listen to the doctors. Terminal my foot. Even if there was no cure in Auguste, surely there ought to have been something in other lands. And so, I left my family at home, crisscrossing the skies looking for a cure. Got into a lot of adventures along the way, and somehow ended up making a name for myself. But no matter how far and wide I traveled, the cure eluded me. And while I was away, my wife, she breathed her last. I wasn't there for her when she needed me most. I never even got the chance to say goodbye. Regret and self-loathing crashed over me in never-ending waves, threatening to pull me under. You can't even begin to imagine the pain. And there was nothing I could do about it. It was all my fault. My daughter spent countless days looking after her sick mother, fighting off fear and dread. It's not hard to imagine why she hates me. She must have asked herself time and again, why was her father gallivanting across the skies while his family suffered? By the time I finally came home, she was long gone. There were no other relatives to turn to. The only family she'd known was no more. All I could do was stand dazed and helpless in the cold, empty shell of the home we'd made. After that, 15 years passed. I met the captain, and through my travels with the crew, reunited with my daughter. This might surprise you, but we didn't have a tearful, touching father-daughter reunion the second time around either. I spent so long telling myself that the next time we met, I'd face up to my past. But when the moment came, I froze. What could I possibly say or do for her as a father after all this time? Any courage I'd mustered withered in the face of her scorn, and I was left standing there, feeling like an old bastard. Sometime after this heartwarming reunion, I bonded with Leviathan, and through our link, saw glimpses of what lay in my daughter's heart. I thought I had escaped all those painful memories, but here they were. In that world created by the pact with Leviathan, my wife was still alive. I saw how things might have been if I had done things differently. Of course, I knew none of this was real, but I would rather stay in a world of memory than live in a cold, lonely reality without her. But she wasn't having any of that. She said I couldn't sacrifice my future to dwell in the past. She made me promise to fix things between myself and our daughter. Said she'd boot me out of the ocean if I came back without completing my task. Her words finally gave me the push I needed to face my past and start on the path to a brighter future. They gave me the strength to fight for my daughter in her hour of need. And I'd like to think that I finally did something fatherly, if only just the once. Of course, I don't expect our relationship to be mended with one conversation or act of bravery. But little by little, I think we're getting there.
Zega Grande, the forgotten skydom. As I gazed into its perennial blue, I reflected on my last time here, during my travels with him. My memories of this place were distant, yet unforgettable.
Have you been here before, Rosetta?
Hmm? Perhaps I have. Who can say? Eventually, I'll share my tales of the captain's father and our journey together. When the time is ripe, of course. But first, I would need to sort through my own emotions. It was here in these skies that we would eventually part. I know. In the eyes of eternity, our time together lasted no longer than a blink. Yet his impact on me felt nothing short of eternal. Indeed, it wasn't nostalgia that I felt upon revisiting these skies. Rather, it was the significance of this place and all that transpired here that weighed heavily upon my heart. During the war, primal beasts were exploited by the Astrals as instruments of battle. Withered and fated, one primal would eventually drift to Lumacier Archipelago, making a home for herself. Over time, she grew accustomed to the comforts of its forests and the serenity they offered. It was a far cry from the brutalities of war. Centuries would pass until a young man stumbled upon her domain, forever altering the course of her life. She engaged him in a vicious battle, but was ultimately humbled in defeat. Accepting her fate, she resigned herself to death. However, the man would sheath his blade and, to her surprise, asked if she would join him on a journey across the skies. A primal beast was supposedly no more than an astral weapon. Beings born to be controlled, manipulated, and ill-used since time immemorial. She had never entertained the idea of something more. In fact, she hardly had a name for herself. Well, she did have a moniker, but it was a meaningless one, whose sole purpose was to identify her as a weapon. Perhaps out of pity, perhaps out of kindness, the man bestowed upon her a new name. It was from that moment she would truly blossom. Rosetta. It was his gift to her, one she would treasure and love for eternity. With every union comes an inevitable separation. When his journey neared its final chapters, as he took up arms against the god of destruction, I returned to the forests of Lumacier. After my return to the archipelago, I briefly longed for his companionship, but the flora and fauna kept me company. Decades came and went, and one day I would encounter yet another young visitor to the island. There was no mistaking it. This was his offspring. I realized at that very moment the time had come. He had entrusted this child to me from the ends of the skies. My heart swelled, but I concealed my excitement, flashing naught but a smile at the young captain. I would join the up-and-coming Skyfarers crew on the Grand Cipher for another journey across the skies, this time as a bystander. During their travels, they would experience joys and triumphs, alongside loss and hardship. I continued to observe from afar, doing my best to obscure my true intentions. My roots were well planted in the past. Knowing what I knew, would I be able to act as a part of their crew in earnest? Before long, my ambivalence would come to a head. My convictions had begun to waver. Was this the right approach? Of course, I was conscious of reality. I knew their journey wouldn't be easy. They would have to face the harsh life the skies had in store for them. And with our foes only becoming more and more cumbersome even for myself, could I possibly protect them? My presence on the Grand Cipher was inconsequential, and at worst, a hindrance to the crew. I thought if I were perhaps that as I would be the bystander. Finally, it wasn't I would leave. Thus,
Have a nice day.